Hello, and welcome to episode 58 of My Dog Will Eat My Face. And this episode does not come to you with much fanfare, and I'm going to cut right to the chase. It's going to basically tell you a story of ill health and express to you what exactly happened, because I assure you I was not celebrating, I was not rambunctious, I was not partying in any sense. I was really down and out, and I have to explain to you what exactly happened. First off, there was a 911 call, believe it or not, that I had to make, basically to save my life. And I'll get into that a little bit later. And then following that 911 call, I actually completely lost my ability to walk and stand and talk. And it wasn't pleasant by any means. So, like I said, I'm not going to beat around the bush. In this next segment, I'm just going to dive right into it and explain why I had to call 911 and how I came so close to actually suffocating on my own apartment floor. First off, I have to paint you a picture. In order for me to get oxygen, I get fed basically 18 liters of constant oxygen through a tube. And it's a total of 18 liters. It's not a small amount. So basically, at all times, I'm hooked up to a cannula, which is basically blasting air into my face, and I need that to breathe. Well, every so often you have to change the tubing and recycle it and switch it out. And about 2 weeks ago, I was doing just that. I was just changing out my tubing. But when I put my tubing back, and when I went back to the floor to hook myself back up to the oxygen, I, for the life of me, could not find the oxygen output that I needed to connect to. Kind of a problem. That oxygen needs to be hooked up to my face. And if it's not hooked up to my face, the oxygen's not flowing. So, I was in a bit of a predicament. I was looking for the tubing. I was looking and looking and looking. I started to get narrow vision. I started to get kind of fading out. And I then went ahead and hooked up my emergency tank, which was good thinking because that bought me some time, that bought me some more oxygen. As I continued to look on the floor for the oxygen that was lacking, but I still couldn't find it. I couldn't find the oxygen to save my life. And I use that phrase very much so on purpose, because if I did not find my oxygen tubing, I was going to suffocate. I went through the piles of hosing and piles of hoses, and just pouring through it, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the oxygen as it was leaving the hose, so I could hook up my cannula to that hose and keep myself alive. And once again, I was facing a fade away glimpse. I started to corner inward in my vision and get more and more confused. And the situation became more and more dire as I struggled more and more to find my oxygen tubing, to hook it up. Unable to find the external tubing, to lose myself, to lose my logical sense, because I was beginning to get oxygen starved. So I did the next best thing. I thought to myself, well, there is one group that carries oxygen with them, and that's the fire department. Call me stupid or call me brilliant, I don't know what you want to call me, but to resolve the matter, I dialed 911 and summoned the paramedics, because sure enough, they diligently showed up with oxygen. And then they wanted to take me to the emergency room. I said, no, I don't want to go to the ER. I finally found the oxygen at that point with the help of the men and women in the fire department. And that's what I needed. They wanted to take me to the emergency room. I said, no, I'm in hospice. It would just be it would cause a disaster to try to go into the ER. I'm already in hospice. I found my oxygen. You did what you're supposed to do. You found my outlet. You've done all I can ask you to do. And please, just now let me be. And thankfully, they did. So it worked out for the short term, where I dialed 911. They helped me find my oxygen, and they relented and decided not to take me to the ER. But that's not where it ended. I eventually went to bed, and the next morning I got up. It was a Monday. And lo and behold, I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't walk. You have no idea how terrifying that was, to where I felt nothing in my legs. And I was completely regaled to my bed. And I could no longer walk or even stand. Thankfully, my cell phone was next to me, and I managed to call hospice, and they managed to show up. And they were gravely concerned because I was completely confused. Somehow the lack of oxygen, I guess, wasn't quite done. I'm not sure what happened, but I set into a strong fatigue, and I couldn't stand. So they sent more folks over from the hospice, and they're seriously concerned because I couldn't walk still, and I was just completely bonkers, incoherent, all the way through the day. In fact, all the way through the next day. And this was when I was supposed to be publishing my episode. Needless to say, I was preoccupied trying to find my breath, trying to find my oxygen, and basically trying to learn to walk again. They eventually got me a wheelchair and taught me how to use it. So I was barely thinking. I was in a wheelchair for about a week. But eventually I overcame that as well. And when all was said and done, 2 weeks lapsed of me being in a wheelchair and me being unable to walk and stand. And through some miraculous way, I managed to learn to walk again and learned to have my common sense again. And it was one of the most terrifying moments of my entire life. I consulted with the hospice team shortly thereafter, well, during and after, and there is no reason or rhyme as to why this happened. It cannot be explained. I did meet with the healthcare team again today, And their short answer is we don't know why or how you bucked back and regained your precision and your balance and are able to walk again. But thankfully, I did walk again. And it is a total mystery as to why that happened. And I don't know what's scarier. One, that it happened, that I did lose the sense of standing and walking, or the scarier bit being we don't know why that came to pass. But in doing so, I essentially lost 2 weeks of time of being stuck in a wheelchair and learning to walk again and stand again. And I'm back now to where I once was. Very spooky. So I plan to get back in the saddle again, and hopefully this doesn't occur. Hopefully this doesn't occur again. It was very terrifying, and yeah. Don't know why it happened. Don't know how it happened. Don't know if it'll happen again. And it was truly terrifying. So I plan to get back in the saddle. So definitely click follow and click and turn on notifications so you're notified of future podcasts, because you never know when a surprise might happen. And to my listeners, no, I did not die, as some have speculated. I merely just lost large some of my faculties. I'm taking it slow right now a little bit, but again, I plan to be back in the full swing of things up ahead. So definitely turn on notifications. Definitely follow this podcast. I'm not dead yet. And hopefully not anytime soon. But with that, I hope to speak to you next week. And ciao for now.